All right, what's going on, guys? It's XTR here, and we're talking about a few very basic to advanced tips on how you can actually improve consistently in Valorant, and some things you may be missing that you could definitely include inside your kit to make you a better player. This will go from beginner level to higher intermediate. So first, we're going to talk about angle isolation. And what angle isolation is, it's very basic, but this is definitely one of the most important things you can learn in this game. What angle isolation is basically you are peeking, so you can only get shot from one angle at a time. It's that fucking simple, right? So let's say I were to fight short, right? I wouldn't want to fight short like this because that's exposing me from showers, right? Obviously. So you'd want to take a position, like let's say boxes here. Like, yes, this is a pre-aim position, but you're not exposed from multiple angles, and you want to cut down on as many angles as possible that you are exposed from. That is like a key rule for angle isolation, is you want to make sure you are not exposed to multiple angles. Like, just cut down to the maximum extent possible how many angles you are actively exposing yourself to. And that's really the gist of it. Like, you do not want to be standing in the open. You do not want to be exposing yourself to two major angles unless you know for sure there is nobody there or you have a teammate watching that angle. For our next talking point, we're going to be talking about off angles. And basically what an off angle is it's somewhere that you can play that forces the enemy team, the enemy player, to actually consciously react to you. Like, it's not going to be the first thing they're clearing. It's an angle that's not commonly cleared. So a good off angle would be something like, it's just very important to understand what an off angle is. People play these all the time at the higher ranks. I don't notice it nearly as much at the lower ranks, but essentially all it's doing is it's giving you a slight second of advantage that you can take to kill the enemy player. If you're at an angle that is not where they're expecting, they're going to have to quickly adjust to you, and in that amount of time, if your shots are on, you should be able to kill them. So it's very useful, but I will say with off angles, there are a lot of off angles you can take that are considered one and dones. And what a one and done is a position that you can play where you can only get one single kill before dying, before getting traded, right? So off angles are very good in 1 versus 1 scenarios, and they're very good in 1 versus 2 scenarios. But if you were a movement agent like Jett or Raze, you can take off angles all the fucking time. But I will say, don't overuse them in a game. You only want to use them a couple times. You don't want to use it every single round. Like, change up where you're playing every round, but don't overuse an off angle. So real quick, good off angles, right? A good off angle is literally just going to be something that's not instantly cleared as you're walking out. So usually you're going to clear like this as you're walking out of sight. So a good off angle would be up on top of this green box. And this is good for non-mobility agents because you're able to literally just take a shot and fall off. Then you can peek hookah. You can fall back like this. This is how I always play this angle. Then you can swing and fall behind tube and play there. So you're constantly moving your position. Another good off angle, and this is mainly for like 1v1 situations, is somewhere like right here. Right? This is not always cleared. This is not always cleared. People miss this shit all the time. Another good off angle is up here. Like, yes, this is cleared very commonly, but you're not at head level. So they're going to have to react and actually adjust up to your head level if they want to kill you, or they're just going to be body shotting you and you should be able to get a kill. But once again, this is more of a one and done angle, and it's best used in 1v1s. So that's basically what an off angle is. Just make sure when you're doing off angles, consciously think about it and think what benefit you could possibly gain from it versus the risk, right? Think about the risk of the angle you are playing and weigh it with what you actually potentially like would net from it, you know? You don't want to just take off angle just to take an off angle, and you don't want to abuse them and use them every single round because people are going to start expecting it, and you're just going to start getting shut down in the middle of fucking nowhere, just standing out in the open. So we're here on this website, this fucking epic ass website right here, and we're talking about defaults. And basically what a default is the default positions that both teams are going to usually play. So this is what a general default would look like for the defending side, with a little bit of aggression pushing towards showers and pushing towards Octa. This is bind, by the way, just so you guys are fully aware of that. A general default from the attackers is going to look like somebody watching short, and this can change. Sometimes the forces will be spread towards long to look for, like, let's say the jett gets aggressive very often, you're going to want to put 2 people here so they can take out the jett, right? But this can be flipped either way. You can have someone doubled up short, doubled up here, doubled up here. There are 4 main positions on bind that you want to watch. You have 5 players, so you can really spread this force wherever you want based on the aggression the enemy team gives you. And basically what a default is doing and accomplishing is you are looking for a pick. When you are playing the attacking side default, you are looking for a pick to actually get some momentum on the board, to try and bait out utility, all of the above. Now, once you get that pick, it's really up to you guys what you want to do, but you read the aggression of the defending team, you figure out what they tend to do most, you try and read it, and then you set up a default accordingly. If your executes aren't working, it's best to rely on a default. Defaults are very strong, and it is one of the best ways to play. It is one of the best ways to play. One of the biggest problems I see with the default, though, is people taking much too long on a default and just waiting too long. If they are not showing any aggression throughout the game whatsoever, then all you should really be doing with the default is just baiting out utility. And we're going to talk about baiting out utility a little bit later. But basically, if they aren't showing aggression, it's good to just literally default, bait out utility, group up, decide on somewhere to hit based on the utility the enemy team has used. For the defending side default, it really all depends. If you are losing the game because you're playing too passive, let's say you have a jett playing here and a sage playing here, or playing here an elbow with octagon walled off. You have Phoenix playing back on site here, here, and here. Let's say you are defending, and this is the setup you're running. This is your default, okay? If you are not able to win using this default, what the defending team usually will do is try to get aggressive in some type of way so you can get that momentum you need to actually give yourself an advantage in the round to hopefully secure a round instead of playing passively. So back on track to summarize this. A default is for baiting utility. It's for looking for picks on either side, whether it be attacker or defender. It's looking for picks. And it's getting your bearing in the round, reading the situation, and trying to process what's happening around the map, what utility is being used, and just feeding info to each other. You are all feeding information to each other here, right? That's the whole thing about this. You're all feeding each other information, and then you can decide together as a team what you want to do. Now, this is not extremely... you can't really apply this as much in lower ranks, but... once you get up to like the plat or even gold and above, defaults are gonna start happening. And it's best to know how to properly play a default. When you're playing a default, you don't want to get over aggressive on either side over and over and over again, just feeding them picks, right? You don't want to do that. You want to just play together, figure out what you're doing, feed info to each other, bait out util. If you want to get aggressive, decide on that as a team. But that's about it for defaults. I talk about this a lot more in depth and a lot more digestible in another video, which I will have linked in the description. So if you want to watch that, just, I'll fucking link it. It's a pretty long video. It's like, I believe it's like 12 to 20 minutes, somewhere in that range. It's old, but if you really want to know about defaults and pretty much all the ins and outs of them, I would suggest watching that video. This is just a basic rundown. All right, so the next one we have to talk about here is as important to the game as fucking pressing mouse 1. Baiting utility is extremely important. And what baiting utility is, I mean, it's literally, the fucking name, but basically what you're doing is you're playing that default that I was talking about earlier, and you're all just sitting around the map making noise trying to bait out utility, forcing them to use their utility so they don't have nearly as much for when the end of the round comes. If you are not baiting utility, it is going to be very, very difficult for you to actually execute a site when the time comes. This is the power of a default. Baiting utility is one of the best ways to actually ensure that you're able to take a site. Because let's say there's a brimstone. He uses 2 of his smokes, right? 2 of his smokes are gone. By the time that you have baited out most of the brimstone's utility, and like, let's say you baited out a couple flashes as well, by the time you want to hit a site together, you guys still have most of your util, right? Most of your utility is still there, ready to be used. So when you actually go to attack the site and you go to hit it, you overwhelm them with your utility as opposed to how much utility they actually have left. If you can get their mollies out, that is even bigger, because that pretty much ensures that you as a team let's say you have 5 up, you are able to just go. You're able to just go out. You won't have to stall for a molly or anything, and you're able to just fucking go out. So that's why baiting utility is so important. You just spread out around the map, and literally all you're doing is making noise, trying your best, trying your damnedest to not get picked by the enemy team. Get their utility out, so that way, later in the round, when you guys decide on hitting a site, you guys are able to do it with the utility advantage. So this one is mainly for my duelist players, and basically, don't stop during a push, because that halts your entire team and that halts the entire push, and that gives the enemy team time to react and use more utility and actually kill you. Like, let's say I halt right here when all the smokes are down and I'm just sitting here, right? That forces the sentinels, the controllers, to go in while I'm just sitting here fucking baiting. If you are a duelist, you need to be pushing up, creating the space for your team. And creating space is very important in this game. If you don't have the space, your team is going to have a hard time taking site control because it's not going to be fully cleared out. So one of the best ways to create space is to instantly, right? Let's say I'm playing Jett, right? One of the best ways to create space is just literally go like this, dash into U-Haul. If someone's playing here, you know, you might lose the fight unless you have a shotgun, right? So you dash into U-Haul, you instantly take U-Haul control, you know, you throw a fucking smoke here, and you just wait here, right? You have this space for your team. This is covered. Your team now has 4 people, maybe 3 people, 2 people to actually take full site control, get the bomb down while one's covering, and then after that, they can go to their post-plant positions. You have the space locked down. They don't need to worry about it. One of the most stressful things in this game is when I decide as a duelist to go over here. I wanted to take site control first, right? Because there are multiple ways you can do it. But one of the most stressful things is when you don't have U-Haul control, because not only are you worried about people pushing through these smokes with flashes and just killing your team while you're just sitting here watching U-Haul, right? And you can't help them in any way, shape, or form, but that space is just locked up. The enemy team has full control over that, and they can peek you at any given time. So it's very important that you have control of these areas, specifically U-Haul, and even showers control. Showers control is very important as well, but I'm not going to really talk about that in this video. Alright guys, that's about all I wanted to say really. Some of the stuff was pretty basic, I know, but a lot of it is just foundational building blocks, right? At this point, like, I want to teach the newer players that are coming into this game, some of the lower level players and some of the intermediate players may not know these things. So I wanted to throw this video out there just to kind of help you guys build that foundation that is necessary to actually start growing in this game. Once you have these foundational building blocks down, a lot of other stuff comes naturally. Now, obviously I didn't hit on everything I possibly could have, but if there's any suggestions you guys have, anything you really want to learn, just let me know in the comments and I'll fucking get to that shit too. But aside from that, you guys have a good day. Hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you learned something. Hope you took at least one thing away from this. If not, I'm sorry for wasting your fucking time. But hopefully you got a little refresher or something. Alright, goodbye guys.